what we have for perfect competition, we have the supply and demand curve, and then we have the actual firm that's trying to make their output and profit maximization point, okay? So for the market, we have what we've done before. We have our price and our quantity. We have our demand curve right here, and we have our supply curve here, and that's how we determine our price and our quantity. Now, it's very important to remember that this quantity here is the market quantity. So if we were looking at the perfect competition market for like burgers, where like it's the same burger for everybody, and we added up all the quantities from McDonald's that they're selling, Burger King, Burger Boy, all of that. If we added all the quantities that they're selling, that is the market quantity, all right? So this price right here, all right, this is the same price that the firm is going to use for their output decision. So basically, no matter what quantity that they sell, they will have to sell at the same price, whatever that is, okay? So basically what we're looking at, if you were to look at the demand curve for the actual firm, so we have a demand for burgers overall in the market, but then if you were to look at your demand for an individual firm like McDonald's, why would you buy from McDonald's? Because they price it at 6 the same way they price it out at the McDonald's right next to it, okay? So basically, your demand curve for all these firms has to be at the market price. If they go too high, you don't buy from them, you buy from the one at $6. And remember, there's no reason for the firm to go lower than this. So this right here is the demand for the firm, all right? It's not downward sloping because, again, we don't have a change in price for the firm. They are price takers. They take this market price as is. So this is the demand curve. Now, going back to what we said about the marginal revenue, right, where the marginal revenue was the same too, guess what? For perfect competition, the marginal revenue is the same as the price. And that makes sense, right? For every burger that they sell, it's $6. So every time they're selling a burger, their revenue is going up by 6. So the marginal revenue is 6, which is the same as the price, okay? So this demand curve is also the marginal revenue as well, okay? Now going back to what we said earlier in chapter 7 with marginal cost, your marginal cost was a Nike check mark. So where is the profit maximization point? Well, that's going to be where MR equals MC. And that happens right there. The same way we have an equilibrium right here with supply and demand, we have an equilibrium for the firm right there where the marginal revenue is equal to the marginal cost. That is where you have your profit maximization point. So this is how a firm like McDonald's determines how many burgers they're going to sell at this price, okay? Now, what we're going to look at now is what is the firm earning? Profits, losses, right? What does that look like? So from start to finish, what we need to do is we need to focus on this profit maximization point. MR equals MC, where the margin revenue equals the marginal cost. For every burger that you're selling, okay, when it matches up with the cost of it, that's where you maximize your profits at, okay? Really simple. If your marginal revenue was $6, but you're producing where the marginal cost is 4, guess what's happening? You're making more money on that burger that you just sold than it cost you. So if you wanted to make even more profits and even more money, you would produce another burger, okay? So let's say you do that. Guess what? Your marginal revenue is $6, and now your marginal cost is 5. So you had an extra benefit there. Because you made that extra burger, you got $6 and it only cost you 5. All right, so you're winning in this situation. So what firms do is whenever they're earning more than what it costs them, they're going to keep on producing more. And so what happens is your marginal revenue, anytime that's more than the marginal cost, you produce more. So when should you stop? Well, you should stop when they're equal, right? Because if you were producing with a marginal cost that's higher, right? So like you produce a burger at $6, right, to sell it at 6, but then it cost you 8. That doesn't make any sense, right? It cost you more to make it than you sold for it. So as a business decision, you got to go backwards, right? You have to go where they are equal. And so that is why the profit maximization point happens where they are equal, is because anytime you can make more money at something, you keep on producing more, such as the marginal revenue more than the marginal cost. As soon as it flips around, that's when you should start producing less because it costs too much. So what we end up with as an equilibrium is where they're equal. Now, because it's perfect competition, they are price takers. Their price is their margin revenue, right? We talked about that before with this demand curve being flat. Their price is their margin revenue. So what we could say for perfect competition in terms of profit maximization, we just need to look at whatever price you're selling at, what's the marginal cost there as well, okay? So does maximizing profit actually mean an economic profit? So this is where we'll need to add in the average total cost, okay? Remember, we do have things like profit margin, which is how much profit you are earning per quantity. And we also have a break-even point, which is where we are earning 0 profits, okay? And so that would be where the price equals the ATC. Marginal cost is different from the average total cost. Marginal cost is looking at the change in the cost when you produce something else, okay? Average total cost is at that quantity we're doing, the total amount of quantity. What is the average cost per unit? There's a difference, okay? It's not the additional cost, it's the average total cost that we're doing, all right? So we have 3 different options to show us if a firm is earning profits, losses, or 0 profits. And I'm going to illustrate all 3 of those for you. So, starting from start to finish here, we have, let's say, the coffee market or the latte market. In case you are wondering, lattes are an example of perfect competition because it's espresso and milk. That's really what a latte is. There's no, it's identical, or it should be pretty close to identical no matter where you go. And so what happens here is we create a market for lattes. We have a demand for them and we have a supply. And if you were to go out into the market, you would see that a latte is probably priced out at $6, okay? So what does that mean for an actual firm such as Starbucks, okay? They need to be careful if they go above $6 on a latte because no one's going to go to them, all right? But they still want to make money at this, so guess what? They will charge the $6. And again, the only reason anybody's going to them to demand Starbucks is because it's priced at $6. This illustrates the marginal revenue that they are earning per cup. We have our marginal cost as well. And going back to the ATC we looked at, remember the ATC was our U shape or our boat shape that came down to show us that, hey, this is your average total cost of producing. All right. So I'm just illustrating you an average total cost here. So let's look at this. At the profit maximization point, MR equals MC, that happens right here. So this is our profit max quantity. All right. What is the price of that? Well, the price is $6. What is the marginal cost? It's $6 as well because, again, it's our profit maximization. But what about the ATC? See how the blue line is hitting the ATC curve right here. This, if I were to go straight across, would show us the average total cost of producing this, okay? And as you can see here, I wrote down 5. So the ATC here would be $5. So is Starbucks, in this case, earning profits, losses, or no profits? Well, they produced the coffee at $5 and they sold it for $6. They made a profit margin of $1. So guess what? They are earning profits. Anytime your price is above your ATC, you are earning profits. So this is an example of a firm that is earning profits. Again, on this graph here, you can see how they have the price up here, which is the marginal revenue, and they have the ATC coming down here. At the point where MR equals MC, which is right here, and that's the quantity, this is the average total cost. So this is why when your price is above your AVC, you are earning. Now, this is a situation where you're actually equal to, okay? So again, we're doing the same rules, MR, MC, that happens right here, but that also is where the ATC comes down. And so what you end up with at the profit maximization point right here, and you go over to find the price, you also see that the price is equal to the ATC. So this is where we have our break-even point. Another name for the break-even point is normal profits. Okay, so in terms of a normal profit graph, this is what we're looking for. You have your demand curve, which is your MR, and this is your price. You have your marginal cost, and then you have your ATC right here. Notice that they're all connected right there. So this is where you have zero profits or normal profits. For losses, what we're looking at is we're looking at a situation where your marginal revenue is down here, and you go to your MR equals MC, which happens right here. And if you go to your price, which is at 2, you go up to the cost, which is up here. So as you can see, price is below average cost. So in this case, we are earning losses. Okay, so these are the 3 situations that we run into in a perfectly competitive firm. You're either earning profits, normal profits, or losses. Okay, so what we'll discuss next is the shutdown point. Like if you are earning losses, when should you shut down? All right.